certain words they can change, certain words do not change. So we learned that the speech of Arabic only consists of three types of words. They're either nouns, or they are verbs, or they are prepositions. أليس كذلك? So does that mean we have other types of words? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah ta'ala, in this class, it's going to be a continuation of the previous one. Because in the previous class, as you can see, what we did is we focused on al-i'rab, inflections, and we literally tried to explain as much as we could on inflections themselves. But there's a chapter which Ibn Ajrum rahimahullah ta'ala, nafa'ana Allahu bihi wa bi'ulumi fi ad-darain, he left it out. Lakin in the shuruhat, when you study, for example, if you go to Sharh al-Kafrawi, if you go to At-Tuhfat al-Saniyya, and if you go further, even if you read, for example, in Tanqih al-Azhariyya, which is not the text similar to this one, which is Al-Ajrumiyyah, but you notice these the books of grammar does not leave this chapter out. Now, this chapter, if you understand it together with the previous chapter, it literally opens the doors for you to understand everything that comes ahead of you. Because that which we're going to cover, inshallah ta'ala, relates to exactly what we are going through right now. Because you'll be able to understand how how words function in the Arabic language and how to use them properly when needed, so that you don't make those mistakes, bi'idhnillah al-kareem. Because certain words they can change, certain words do not change. And the chapter that we are looking to specifically now is al-Binā. What does al-Binā mean? Al-Binā, if you look over here, which of what you saw first, al-Binā specifically means fixed. Al-Binā means a building. Okay, first of all, the word al-Binā can mean a building in its lingual sense, if you want to say that. And that is something which has tathbit, which holds on to one position, which means to say, and al-bina, by the way, building is one of the examples, not the main example. Okay, one of the meanings, not the main meaning all the time that you can use. But what it means to say something that stands as a pillar and it doesn't move, basically. Now, what you find al-bina in this case, we call them fixed words. They're fixed in their way and they won't change. These are fixed words. That's why when you look at the previous notes, al-i'rabu, al-i'rab are words that accept change. These words accept change at the end. We're specifically focusing with the ending of words. When they accept change, they can change from fatha to kasra to dhamma, depending if it's a noun, and if it's a verb, it can accept the fatha and the dhamma and the sukun, not the kasra. Don't forget that rule, inshallah. If perhaps you've not been able to study the previous class, do go somewhere in the link. You could see a card popping up, or maybe go on the playlist in the description, inshallah ta'ala. You'll be able to find the class there, and it's an entire playlist. You can go through them, and then if you join our Telegram group, over there you'll receive the notes, bi'idhnillah al-kareem, that we upload for the students every single, or after every single, before every single class, before every single class, so that you can have access to the notes before the class itself, inshallah ta'ala. And more important is the engagement that you build between you and your fellows, brothers and sisters over there, so that you can learn together. It's about working together as a community and engaging with one another. When you share and the other one shares and we are there together to work and teach, you notice that it becomes much easier to grasp what you are intending to grasp. If it's the language of Arabic, if it's anything else that you want to learn as well, you get to learn from there, inshallah ta'ala. So regard it as a community where you can log in and learn from, inshallah. Now, coming back to al-bina, we said that al-bina is a fixed words. لذلك, one of the main ta'rif that is used, the main definition, huwa luzumu, it is to maintain آخر الكلمة حالة واحدة, the end of the word. Now look at this. Did we say أواخر الكلمة over here? It means the ending of words. Over here, it means آخر الكلمة, the end of the word, the end of words, but the ending of word basically, it is to maintain حالة واحدة, one state. حال, when you say, for example, to someone, when you say to someone, كيف الحال, let me just have this deleted, yes. And I want my pen, where is it? Here it is. When you tell someone, كيف الحال, it means how are you, isn't it? Like in the word hal refers to state. Now you're specifically, or condition. You're specifically asking someone, how is their state? How is their condition? How are they doing financially, physically, health wise, with their family wise, and maybe their affairs with people and all of that. And it combines everything together. ليس كذلك? And because of that, when you ask that person, how are you? You're showing your concern and you're being a good person. They would definitely tell you, I am good. Or maybe if they have anything to share with you, and it's someone that does share, they will share it with you. Now, when you look at the word over here, you notice that هو لزوم آخر الكلمة حالة واحدة, one state and that state alone, لغير عامل ولا إعلال. Not because there is an agent at the end, or maybe there is a defect, a problem. لا. It's not about the agent, it's not about the problem, it's about the word. The word is fixed in that manner. It doesn't change. The word is fixed in that manner. But the question is, what type of words? Because we've learned that in Arabic there are only three types of words. Al-kalamu wa aqsamuhu thalatha. We learned that the speech of Arabic only consists of three types of words. They're either nouns, or they are verbs, or they are prepositions. أليس كذلك? So does that mean we have other types of words? These words which do not change? What it means is that in between those three, from those three that we've learnt, you notice that there are those which do not change. But there's one of those in one of these three categories that they are mainly supposed to not change, and they remain in that image as you study throughout the Arabic language. You notice that they maintain that one image. What does that do? It makes it easier for the person who is seeking to learn the Arabic language to understand and memorize the words. It's not the type of words where you will see them in one shape and then they literally change. They change in another shape, or maybe they are in one state and then they can change to another state. It becomes a bit difficult. Bear with me. Let me give you an example. As the Arabs, they say, بالمثال يتضح المقال. بالمثال يتضح المقال. With an example, it becomes much much clearer. So what do you have? So for example, if I have the word يذهب, يذهب, يذهب. يذهب means he goes, okay? Or he is going. You can say in either one of these. Lakin this يذهب at the very end, this dhamma can change either to, it can be a fatha, it can be a dhamma, it can be a sukun, any one of these. But then if you have a word, let's say for example, if you have such as min. Min means from, أليس كذلك? And we know that this is a, tell me in the description below. Tell me in the description below, wherever you're watching this. Min means from, and it is a what? It's a harf. A harf is known as in English as a preposition. Those connecting words. For example, I went to the masjid. To the masjid. I am coming from work. I sleep on, for example, on a bed, isn't it? My pen is in the pencil case. Those are connecting words that connect the words together. Now look at this. Min means from. Now let me tell you something. Min forever would remain as min. It would not change. This says something to us. This is a verb. أليس كذلك? This is a verb. And this min is a what? It's a preposition. It's a particle, in other words. I'll write it in short. So what you notice is that verbs, they change. But prepositions, as one example, they seem to maintain one image. So if you look at the notes that we have over here, al-Binā, which, as I said, in Al-Ajrumiyyah, you wouldn't find this there. لكن الشراح رحمة الله عليهم جميعا, May Allah have mercy upon each one of them and allow us to benefit from their knowledge. You notice that they did not leave this chapter out. And in other early stages, early grammar books, for example, for beginner students, you notice that this chapter is not neglected, it's part of it. فالاسم منه معرب ومبني لشبه من الحروف مدني, as Alfiyat ibn Malik, if when you read through it, you find that what does he do? He mentions about this. Al-ism, it doesn't only contain words that can change only, it also has words that maintain one image. And when it comes to the verbs and when it comes to the prepositions, لكن the main of those which take the very top of the list, وكل حرف مستحق للبناء. All of the prepositions, they deserve to be in a state of Binā. Basically, they're mabnīyyah, they are built and fixed in one image. That's why we started with al-huruf. Al-huruf, prepositions, they maintain one image. What does this say? What does this say? This is to say, when you are doing, let's say, your breakdown of these words, I'll give you a very good example. So after you've learnt vocabulary, and you've been able to master these vocabulary in the Arabic language, and on top of that, now you've been able to learn how to use the vocabulary to form sentences, or maybe to be able to speak, and you want to put them in the correct order, and you're already aware now grammatically these words can change. You forget about morphology, a sarf, because sarf builds focus on the actual building of the word, the building block of the entire word. Like when it comes to a Nahw, you can change the word from the subject doer to the object, meaning the victim of an action, or maybe providing you a detail of what happened or where it happened, for example, isn't it? These are literally the basic examples of what I can give you. So what you notice is this. If you come to literally put together words, this is what you get. If you want to say, I am going to the masjid, أنا أذهب إلى المسجد. إلى المسجد. Okay, إلى المسجد. What do you get from this? أنا is a noun meaning I, isn't it? أذهب, I'm going, which is definitely a verb. إلى is a preposition to. Al-Masjid, the masjid. Don't forget this. This alif and lam, we said it's a sign of noun known as lam al-ta'rif also. And for this reason, over here, we use it as the. So when you see alif and lam at the beginning, expect it majority of the times to be the. Okay? Al-Masjid, the masjid. What do you get from this? Is that you see this preposition ila, this will forever remain in that state. It wouldn't change. The ending of it will be the same. Because, for example, like min has a sukoon at the end, isn't it? Ila, it seems like it's two words, but actually it's not. Because remember, what did we say? We said that there are two types of alif. There's the short alif and there is the long alif. Al-alif al-maqsura wal-alif al-mamduda. And because of this, you notice that ila ended with a short alif, and this alif does not have any haraka. So what do we call it as well? Ended with a sukoon, like that. But then, ana, saying that it's a noun, which means I, they are nouns which they remain the same as they are. They do not change. Understood? So you find them like this. So ila, I can use ila in this sense. I can use ana in this sense. And forever I will find them in that image. They wouldn't change. It becomes much easier. Like in your suda', basically your headache, is just with these words such as adhabu. Forget sarf wise. At the very end, it could be adhabu, it could be adhaba, it could be adhab, like that with a sukoon. And the word masjid could be masjidi, could be masjidu, can be masjida, can be any one of these. So it literally feels like, okay, it's going to be a bit confusing, but I need to learn these rules. But when it comes to the other ones, you say, okay, I can learn the rules. I would understand where I would understand where it belongs and how I use it. Like I know definitely this is how I'm expecting to see it. You wouldn't see it otherwise. Understood? So the examples that we have is al-huruf, prepositions, such as min, and we said min is specific for the noun, isn't it? And hal can work for both nouns and verbs, for both nouns and verbs as well. If you perhaps just stumbled on this class and you maybe jumped all the way to this class, bear this in mind. I would advise you to start from the beginning so that you can understand the signs of the prepositions and understand, know exactly how many types of prepositions do we have. You might think that perhaps only in Alfiyat ibn Malik you find this, but also some beginner texts such as Tanqih al-Azhariyah, mashallah tabarakallah, rahmatullahi alayhi, للشيخ, what he wrote, the Al-Allama Khalid Al-Azhari, he literally beautifully provided that الحروف تنقسم إلى ثلاثة أقسام. That which specifically works for the noun, that which specifically works for the verb, and those which are both for nouns and verbs. And it was very good the way he explained it in the most beautiful manner. So if you look at this, hal works for both nouns and verbs, and in is only for verbs. In is for verbs, and this is known as adatu shart or jazm. It is adatu shart. For those who've studied a little bit, they would understand what I mean. It's a tool for condition, for a condition. When you want to say, if this happens, this is what's going to happen. If you do this, I'll do this. So this is known as, you're placing a condition down. That's what you're saying. If this is going to happen, this is what's going to happen next. That's what you're saying. Mata taqum aqum. Mata is another one. Now you notice that something I want to bring to your attention as well. That's why when you study these things, they become beautiful. One preposition such as mata, mata means when. Mata, this could be ظرف zaman. Okay, ظرف zaman. That's how it's known as. Lakin at the same time, it could be known as adatu shart. It could be used as a conditioning tool. You provide this as a prerequisite, as a requirement. This happened, this is going to happen. This doesn't happen, this is not going to happen. So when you say mata nadrus, okay, mata salah, or when you say just mata salah, what does that mean? When is salah? When is the prayer? Okay, when is the prayer, for example? You could be referring to Salatul Dhuhr, let's say, for example, and what happens is that person will tell you الصلاة بعد نصف ساعة. Salah is going to be after half an hour. أليس كذلك؟ لكن if you say متى تقوم أقوم. What does this mean? When you stand, I stand. And this is a common example that is used by grammar scholars. Grammar scholars, ulama nahw, they use this example a lot to provide as an example of not just prepositions that can be used to tell you when and where, but in reality, these prepositions, some of them can be used not only for that purpose, but also for another purpose. And when you find that it's used for a condition or prerequisite as this, you end up realizing that the other words that come after them are verbs, such as what we provided you over here. In, although it's specific for just verbs, you notice that certain prepositions, they cannot just be used as nouns, as prepositions as they are, but they can be used as tools for verbs as well. Okay, they're not just used for nouns only, but they can be used for verbs as well. So you notice, such as mata, such as hal, such as la, those are examples. Or man, for example, means who. Okay, as man can be used for just nouns and at the same time can be used for verbs, and those are examples. So in, hal, min, inshallah. Going forward, you notice that al-asma'u, nouns, we have several types of al-asma'. There's not one type of al-asma' of nouns. There's several types of nouns, and the common nouns that you and I use are, for example, like names of buildings, names of people. Okay, names of people. Sometimes we use names of ideas, isn't it? And beyond, etc. As simple as that. But if you come back to this, of those which we are specifically saying, they are built and do not change. They remain in their image. They are known as fixed nouns. They are asma'ul dama'ir. These are known as al-dama'ir. الضمائر, pronouns. Pronouns are fixed in their way. They do not change. Such as أنا, we gave you an example as أنا, أنت, أنت. You tell me, in the history of the Arabic language that you've ever learnt, have you seen these any different, or have you seen them the way they are? And what has it done for each one of us who study Arabic? It's easy to study because you can memorize it as it is. All you need to know is the meaning. أليس كذلك? Now, if we go back as well in the text over here, you have أسماء الإشارة, such as هذا, هذه, which both of them mean this and also that, those, such as those. Asma'ul istifham, questioning nouns, for example. Questioning nouns. If you have such as those questioning nouns, you notice that those are other examples. They're asma'ul shart. Okay, they are nouns known as for shart as well. Bear that in mind. Lakin, I don't want you to focus on these two for now. These can be a bit complicated. Just focus on these two. These are the most easiest. Okay, these are the most easiest. Al-Dhama'ir, pronouns, and Asma'ul Ishara. Because there are other ones which I haven't mentioned. For example, Asma'ul Mawsula, Ism Mawsul, I haven't mentioned them here. And all of these Asma, they are several, because we're not focused on which one is which. We're just providing you the clarity on knowing there are words in Arabic which are fixed and there are words which can change. This is not the depth of what you might think it is, and that's the end of it. No, in fact, this chapter is very long. It's very, very long, and I don't want to bombard you with too much. What I'm providing you with is the mere basics, the bare bones of the entire topic, so that you can understand, okay, what to expect. So when we study further as we move along into the next classes, you realize in Arabic there are words which are fixed, there are words which accept change. And the fixed words, for example, are such as kada wa kada. And obviously, as you learn along, you end up realizing there's more to what you learnt than to what you're learning than what you've already learnt. Okay? So coming back as well, we have the al-af'al. Af'al al-madiyah, past tense, they are fixed. And al-amr, they are fixed as well. Basically, future commanding tense. They are fixed as well. Lakin, ulama al-Basra, now this is something which I don't want to provide, but I'm just going to provide you some fun a little bit for you to realize that even when it comes to grammar, some scholars have differed with one another, but that's not for now. That's for those who have literally studied, at least they are on the upper intermediate level, because at this moment you don't really need it. But I'm just providing it to you to show you it's beautiful when you learn and realize, because you have the Kufiyun and you have the Basriyun. These are two people from two parts of the world, and you notice that they literally have their way of looking at things, and the other ones have their way of looking at things. They might be close, but mentally they were a little bit they were a little bit separated. Okay, and their understanding specifically. Ulama al-Basra, they had their stances, and Ulama al-Kufa, they had their stances. But the one which is correct is that al-amr is fixed. The commanding tense is fixed. That's the correct way. Lakin when it comes to the mudari', present tenses, they are always changing. Okay, they are always changing. The ending of the present tense changes regardless. That's the natural state of the present tense, different from the past and the future. Lakin only in these conditions. When the present tense ends with a noonun niswa, known as the feminine noon for the plural. Okay, when there is more than three, basically more than two women, and it's three onwards. From three onwards is regarded as plural in Arabic. When that noon is there in the present tense, then that present tense now is fixed. Doesn't change its state. Does not change its state. لكن نون التوكيد, which is known as the affirmative noon. It is to say that something is certain. Something is certain. Let me give you an example in the Quran and you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Aywa, in Surah Yusuf, look at what Allah provides. La yusjananna, la yusjananna. And now this is a verb, but ended with a noon tawkeed. A noon tawkeed, there are two types, al-thaqila wal-khafifa. I don't want to mention those at the moment, but just know as the affirmative noon, when it's provided at the end, and you might find it sometimes it has a shadda at the end, such as this one with a fatha. That's the state of it. But there's another type as well. You say what? La yusjananna. This verb is fixed. Lakin when the present tense is in single form. When the present tense is in single form. When the present tense is in single form. I want you to understand that. If it's dual form, basically for two, or it's for plural, that's different now. It's not fixed anymore. It might seem it's fixed, but it's not fixed anymore because the i'rab state of it changes. The inflection state of it changes, and you'll come to learn that as we move along بإذن الله الكريم. Because مسألة فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه ثبوت النون or حذف النون لكذا وكذا, and then you have جمع مذكر السالم, which is a bit different. فعل مضارع مرفوع علامة رفعه الواو واو الجماعة because of this and that. Those are things which I don't want to get into right now, but I just want you to understand how grammar works, so that once you've understood and got into that groove of understanding how grammar works, then it's much easier for you to know, okay, this is how we use grammar, this is how we break it down, this is how we explain it, inshallah ta'ala. And it's not far from now until you come to that level, inshallah. And remember, these are terminologies that we use. Perhaps it might seem a bit difficult, but this is understand this. When you want to become a real student of knowledge and you want to understand the subjects that you are learning, such as fiqh, hadith, Qur'an, which is tafsir, and beyond that, you need to understand this, because Arabic goes beyond the speaking part. Arabic goes beyond the part where we cherish when we understand what we are listening to, or when someone is conversing with us. Arabic goes to the levels of telling us that this deen entirely is built upon Arabic. Umar ibn Khattab, what did he say? تعلموا العربية فإنها من دينكم. Study Arabic because it's from your religion. If you understand that fact, you end up realizing that grammar is to be appreciated, morphology is to be appreciated, and even beyond that. So, pardon me, some of the scholars went far to say that if a student does not know balagha, they cannot say that they've understood the Quran properly yet. It's that deep. Bear that in mind. If you don't understand balagha, even when you study tafsir, it becomes very difficult for one to say that I understood the verses as Allah wanted me to understand them. Because it's not just the Nahw that you study and the Sarf that you study and the books of tafsir you go through and serve through them. Actually, it's beyond that. It's the alat, the tool that you need to build for you to have access to those other books that translate the one book that everyone yearns to understand. And that's a real student of knowledge. That is a real student of knowledge, inshallah ta'ala. So once now you've understood how Binā, the chapter of Binā works, basically fixed words, and you've understood as well how inflections work, then in the next class, bi'idhnillahi al-kareem, we're going to look at the types of inflections after knowing just the surface level of what inflections are and how to expect them when it comes to the Arabic word themselves. And when we come to that level, you start learning words as well. You start learning words, and these words, I'll try my best to provide you the meanings of these words as much as I could, so that you can have access to the language as well as you learn بإذن الله الكريم. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.